Welcome to the Modern Data Company. I'm Vishal Venkatram, the field CTO for Modern. Everyone talks about moving data to get value, which increases the cost, complexity, and the risk associated with the data ecosystem. We at Modern have created the first data operating system, a data platform which is open, composable, and allows you to drive insights for the business at a pace that has never been seen before in the data ecosystem.
Hi, my name is Andy Palmer. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tamer and serving as track co-producer alongside JP Chavet for Virtual Track 6 and the CDOIQ toolkit. It's my pleasure to introduce the next session, a data operating system, a simple, secure, and scalable platform. In this session, you'll learn why today's data challenges require a paradigm shift, a data operating system. In this talk, Vishal Venkatram, Vishal, will introduce the data operating system and discuss its profound implications for the future of data. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. The session is being recorded. Any presentations will be included in the symposium proceedings. Video recordings will be uploaded to the CDOIQ YouTube channel 3 months after the symposium. And there will be a Q&A session at the end. If you submit your questions via the Whova app Q&A tab, Vishal and I will handle those at the end of the session. So with that, let's get started. I'm excited to introduce Vishal. And Vishal, it's over to you.
Great, Andy. Thanks for that introduction, and thank you, MIT, for putting up a great show. Last day and a half that I've been here have been pretty awesome. And it's been awesome because it's like being with kindred spirits. And I've spent a lot of time with the folks here at the conference, and everybody's grappling with the same challenge. CDOs can't realize value. Organizations are going through massive churn. How do we support such a churn? How quickly can we react to changing market conditions? I think the overall theme, macroeconomic and microeconomic, are pretty evident, and we can read some of the tea leaves, but at the same time, we do not know what lies on the other side of the horizon. So with all of that, I'd like to introduce the Modern Data Company, and I'm going to go into a presentation mode at this point. So the Modern Data Company has been in progress for the last 3 years. And we're based out of Palo Alto. And
Vishal, we're not seeing slides yet.
We're not seeing slides yet. I apologize. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Introducing the Modern Data Company. I think we've been in progression for the last 3 years. This is like our coming out party of sorts. And I'm quite proud to be talking about the data operating system, which is simple and secure, and last but not least, fairly scalable. I'm going to talk about our philosophy, the traditional data challenges, what is a modern solution, of course, and with Q&A and takeaways. So as an introduction, I was the CIO of the digital enterprise at GE Power, spent over 17 years at GE doing a whole bunch of different things, data being a big portion of the puzzle. I also ran the mobile application factory where we built over 75, 80 different apps, which unified insights to action, which converged a lot of analytics data and transactional data to provide real-time information to field force, to supply chain organizations, customer-centric organizations, and things of that sort. At Modern, I lead field engineering and customer solutions. And it's been an exciting journey at Modern. So what is our aim? What is our grounding philosophy? We really want to simplify data. And it's really the basic mantra with which we view every facet of our product. We want organizations to have clarity around the data that they have and allow them to net effective action on data that they don't think they have, but could be possibly within the organization as well. Their outcome first data engineering. What we mean by that is we want, every time we talk to anyone within the team, we first ask, what is the outcome you want to achieve? Let's decide that outcome and then decide what course of action you want to take. The same philosophy translates into our tool. The way our tool composes and the way we work is outcome-based. Everything is right to left. You'll never hear us talking about connectors, purely because that's a commodity play. And we take connectors for granted. There's no magic in that. I built EAI tools in 2005, and we built connectors with hand. So those connectors have been prevalent for such a long time. So let's talk about why this is a true paradigm shift and not talk about commoditized software that's already been in the market and you're taking advantage of it. We truly believe in data democratization. We believe data needs to be a product. Data needs to be treated as software. It is being treated as holy grail today. You have to open it up. You have to allow exploration. You have to allow people to view into data before deciding what product they want to really look at. If the data does not fit the product, you need to be able to throw it away and move on to something that actually fits your product. We need to have such a mentality. Data governance and compliance, of course, has to be integrated as you explore your data and decide what data products you build in the ecosystem. That's why we created the first data operating system, the Data OS. We all know the big data is an opportunity. That's why in the last 4 years, VCs have pumped in several billions of dollars in help supporting startups like Modern and several others, which is why I said we're amongst kindred spirits here. We are not trying to say we are the only ones who can solve this problem. This problem is so big and the problem is so complex that it'll take a village to solve this. If you do not have such a mentality, which says a village has to solve this problem and everyone in the ecosystem needs to play together like Lego sets, like creation of multiple layers of solutioning, I don't think we'll be able to solve this problem. CDOs and organizations will start losing trust and faith in the data movement. And that's the last thing you want coming out of the complexity that has been built into this ecosystem at this point in time. Structured data, unstructured data, and data users, both humans and machines, are growing at such a rapid pace. I don't have to talk statistics to any of you. You've been bombarded with those statistics over the last 3 days. Plus, you have enough going on a daily basis and you're living it to say what is written on the slide deck is absolutely true. We talk about sustainable IT, but in any organization you take, you have multiple copies of data floating around, governed and ungoverned, clean and dirty. Products are being built on both or all of these sets of data. Nobody understands lineage and provenance at the rate at which they need to understand today. We've reached a point, it could be a tipping point or a point of inflection. Time will tell that, where sustainability, ESG, growth of data, management of data have all started to intersect. If we don't take that lens and view this movement going forward and take hold of this particular problem and try to solve it, I think as a community, we would be failing at our mission, failing at the passion that drives all of us to come to work every day. Affordable and accessible storage and computation and hyperscalers are the boon and the bane of this problem as well. They have gone out and said cloud migration equals transformation. Nobody ever thought what cloud migration, without the right structure in place, or transformation without the right ideas in place, will cause within an organization. You leave fragments of data behind. You leave products behind. You do not automate. You do not take advantage of everything that the hyperscalers can provide. It has led to a traffic snarl of epic proportions. It's like driving in Bombay or Cairo or one of these cities, and data transformation and business transformation led by data has completely come to a standstill. That is reality. We speak to customers on a daily basis. And I have a very simple question to all of them. If all your data projects are successful, like you claim, why is your stock price going down? In this market, if your data play is so good, why haven't you moved the needle on your stock price? That's one way to measure success. But if data is going to be the true driver of disruption and transformation within an organization, it should manifest itself in some indicator. Stock price would be a great start at that point in time. IoT, 5G standards, all of these are real. We have several customers today where we are processing billion events in an hour, making artificial intelligence decisions on data that's streaming at that particular pace. But have we asked them the question, what outcomes are you trying to do? We do. If we don't ask those questions, we do not know what to do with it. I think a lot of times data movement in the last 5-7 years with the plethora of cloud data warehousing techniques and other tools that have come in have led to the notion that if once you move everything to the cloud, magic shall happen. I haven't seen the magic yet. I hope you guys are all seeing the magic. So from 2000 onwards, and you take to today, we've been in the data warehousing to cloud data warehousing to data pipelines to data lake journey. We talk advanced analytics, AI, ML at all times. But how are companies, institutions, and other agencies trying to take advantage of this? Point solutions have caused even more problems than promised. It takes more time to integrate point solutions to truly achieve an outcome. By the time you achieve that outcome, the need for the outcome has passed. We created a 500 terabyte data lake, and my AI teams were inoperable. AI teams had challenges where they couldn't build models as fast as we were getting disrupted in the industry. My industry disruption cycle was 30 days. My AI modeling to support that industry disruption was 9 months. What purpose does advanced techniques and investment in such data foundation mean if my business can't trust the very foundation on which it's built? That is the current situation. Once you put unwieldy point solutions and you force fit them, which is what 90% of these are, you are held to a very rigid architecture. An architecture that you are unwilling to break purely because you've spent so much money in just trying to put that architecture together. Whether it serves outcomes or not, it cannot continue. This slide is a clean transition to the fact that the approach that we've taken over the last several years or several decades have been left to right. We try to search and understand the data. We ingest the data. We try to do analysis. We run this in iterative fashions. Okay, you'll say I'll run it very agile. Even the most agile organizations end up running it in a waterfall methodology in some way, shape, or form. Most of these activities take days or months, and it keeps going back and forth. At the end of the day, you cannot be behind the business cycle. The rate of disruption, the change frequency has become so rampant and the mean time between change is so short today, how are we continuing to provide the same infrastructure to make decision-making faster and better at a pace which is 10 times slower than the change that we are actually seeing in the marketplace? That has to change. And it's very clear that a platform and an operating system is the way to start looking at how to affect this particular change. Everyone understands the data management iceberg. Every CDO worth his weight, every operator in this particular ecosystem goes through these on a daily basis. We've had clients who build extensive data catalog. So when we ask them, what are the challenges you have? The first thing they say, nobody wants to be in the cataloging business. It's thankless. Okay. So the question is, what do you do at that point in time? Like, we have to start taking advantage and creating composable architectures which allow me to take advantage of one over the other. It is just not enough that I have a point solution that is one of these things, but I need something that allows me to truly look at things from an end-to-end perspective, which is very, very critical, because as you go through this equation, the complexity that you will start seeing with more of these tools, which start doing 40% or 50% of each other, forces every practitioner to now have the conundrum of how to make decisions. Do I make decisions in giving insights to my business leaders, or do I make decisions on how to stitch the infrastructure, not knowing whether I'll be able to make decisions for you at all in the first place? Why are these so complicated? We have to simplify. We have to make it secure, and we have to be able to scale. This is data from a McKinsey study. Most of the money that is being spent is on data processing. This is data for a $5 to $10 billion enterprise. What have they spent over the last 3 to 5 years on data? About $270 million has been spent on data preparation. That's acquisition, management, and governance. And where you realize value, which is the activation layer, spending 60 to 90 million. And if you step back and look at any of the case studies or any of the challenges that you face today within your organization or with your customers, you will start seeing a similar pattern. Because this is what was told to us. This was told that if you do the first 3 steps very well and spend a lot of money, nectar would flow on the last step. Insights would dribble out of the technology, and it could be anything. Not really understanding the complexity and the challenges that happen in the first 3 steps. All of these were experiences and situations that led to literally the creation of the modern data company. The founders had spent lifetime building very large data solutions for gaming companies, to ad agencies, to media, processing a whole very complex set of events across the board. And at every stage, when they were going through that journey, they were asking the question, what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve? And that truly led to the creation of the data OS and the genesis of the modern data company. The last few days, we've had several sessions on data fabric, meshes. Are they the panacea? The data fabric and both data meshes are design concepts, and they're not products. They're complex technical challenges in achieving a true data fabric and data mesh. Anderson Horowitz calls unified data architecture the future that will support growth in several different areas. It'll power super apps to the meta world, to hyper scaling of financial transformation, fintech, all of these. You can go to A16Z and look at the unified data architecture slides, and you'll start seeing why they're talking about a unified data platform that is needed to solve something like this. But you can't just focus on the technical aspect. You saw the tool iceberg and the management iceberg a couple of slides ago. If you start looking at that, you start seeing a pattern that organizations have now created silos that operate on those point solutions. So it isn't uncommon in a large organization or any organization that you have somebody who's only looking at catalog. There's someone who's only looking at ETL tools. Somebody's only looking at governance, and somebody who's looking only at observability, if they are. But the problem is not piecemeal. This is like saying you take a complex value stream and you do not optimize for the value stream, but you decide to break the value stream into multiple silos and trying to optimize each silo and expecting the value stream to optimize it upon itself. It doesn't work like that. There's no transfer function between variables in the complex equation. It's the other way around. So if you do not optimize the value stream, you will not understand what variables are the ones that are moving and which ones to optimize. That is a very simple philosophy, but very tough to execute. Because when you try to optimize for the value stream, you have factors beyond your control that you'll have to start looking at. And if you don't have a platform that allows you to introspect all those variables, it gets extremely difficult for you to know how to even make your decisions. Which is why a cultural realignment is extremely critical if the data problem of today needs to be solved. And the challenge amongst all of us, the practitioners, the product creators, the academicians, all of them put together, is around educating. The cultural realignment or the cultural transformation needs to be the #1 variable as organizations look at the data journey over the next few years. I'm going to start talking about the tenets of the data operating system, which is a very different concept. It is extremely loosely coupled, but integrated building blocks that allow you to create multiple and flexible data architectures. It is not enough to just have a very clear and concise user layer. It is very important that you have a very composable cloud layer. It is very important that you have a very composable core layer. You need to be able to use each of these layers and services and stacks available within each of these and be able to compose onto itself to solve any kind of problem. You need to be able to provide easy, declarative, programmable shell, which allows even the most naive of technical talent to be able to program on such a platform. We've had several customers who've come and told us, I can't find talent today. And my CEO expects me to solve this particular problem. Can you help us? It is not a tooling issue at that point in time, or it could be a tooling issue, but there is a fundamental problem to which the answer they're expecting is that your tool can provide that. It's not very easy to put 2 and 2 together around that, but these are real problem statements. You need to be able to share resources, data, and treat data as a true piece of software. Why does it have to be held within the boundaries of people who think they control it. It needs to be truly democratized. Governance needs to be native. Every asset needs to be governed not across 1 or 2 dimensions, but across 6 or 7 dimensions. Can you see it? Can you access it? Can some other program see it? Can other users see it? Can resources see it? Can apps see it? Can apps use it? Why does it only have to be, can one Tableau report see it? And why do I need to have governance at 15 different points of consumption to decide what happens to that particular data versus not having it in a single place? What if I were able to govern the need to give someone access to that particular data? How do I share data with parties that I bring in without really showing data to someone else? How do I run AI models in a very trusted fashion so that the model runs and the data is kept separate from the model? Why do my data scientists spend so much time creating data pipelines and only spend 20% of the time creating models when it should be the other way around? These are all existential questions that everyone is asking. This is why a true operating system is the need of the hour. The concept is fairly simple. The user interacts with application, application interacts with the operating system interacts with hardware. It's just like an iOS or a Windows operating system. This is no different. Why don't we view everything in the data ecosystem through this particular lens? Allow them to truly compose and work through the layers. As a great example, what if I were to be able to tell a data scientist, your budget to run all your models this month is $1,000. This is the data set you have access to, and I will determine that for you. And I will tell you which operating clusters you need to operate on. I will provision that for you on the fly. And you will have $1,000 worth of compute made available to you. The moment $1,000 are exhausted, I will observe that, alert you, alert your manager, so that you can go to him and ask him for a increased budget. It has to be at that level. You cannot have situations where data scientists are running through their budget in one go. Running a model for $70,000 or $100,000 is no longer passable, especially in these times. Budgets are getting crunched. Organizations are really looking at spend. It needs to be at that level. That is what an operating system can do for you today. Observability at every layer, alerting at every layer. Any modern flexible data architecture needs to have all of these components. What we built is this data operating system. You build once, use it as many times. Everything is a data product. You see the data address there? Everything within the data OS is addressable as a product. Every catalog is available to you as a product. Every dashboard is available to you as a product. Every query is available as a product. Every alert is a product. You have the ability to build any apps on top of it using open APIs, open structures, and allow you to introspect and take action on any of these combination of primitives. you really don't have to now go outside of this ecosystem, of this operating system. But at the same time, it is open. This is not a closed ecosystem. This is a completely open ecosystem. The control belongs to you. It is a PaaS platform. It works on any cloud. We have customers on every cloud and on-prem, hybrid, all of those combinations. Allows you to experiment first before deciding whether this is the product that you want to create. Allows you to drive innovation at a pace and scale that you've never been able to do before. These are the tenets of the flexible data architecture. We treat data as software. I have mentioned that everything in the product is a software, but at the same time, everything is versioned. Everything is observed. Shifts, drifts, changes to governance, changes to observability. Everything is observed. Traceability of products to origin is observed. Changes in schema shifts leading to product changes are observed and alerted. We want AI teams to spend 90% of the time running models and refining them, being able to explain their models, explain the behaviors, reduce the bias, and not worry about data pipelines. Declarative primitives, every kind of automation that is possible takes advantage of all of our founding pillars, complete set of flexible APIs, allow you to do the activities that you need to do. If this primitive that treating data as software doesn't resonate, how will we be able to scale? Last but not least, composability. You literally go right to left. You have the ability to define metrics and KPIs. Analyze across all your dimensions. Understand the problem and observe. Go back into the catalog, workbench, understand your data structures. Truly, because the architecture is like a Rubik's Cube puzzle. And it's not for a fact that we were named Rubik, just that the Rubik's Cube company didn't like the name. And we changed it to Modern Data Company, which I think is equally good. But think of a data platform that literally operates like the Rubik's Cube. You do not know which direction your challenge is going to come from. One of our customers has a massive data sharing problem within the enterprise. And they were using 60 different CSV files with 130 people and an S3 storage to completely try to solve this complex equation of who gets to see what, which country can see this, which group within a country can see this data. And they started creating multiple data pipelines and things of that sort just to create those data sets. We came in, created one data product, created 45 different governing rules, and any kind of ingress, egress, or access via 35 to 40 different kinds of applications / people process were automated in one go. No need to manage, have 60 plus people and so many different S3 storage locations and others to manage this data. This data was done in real time at that point, and the project took about 3 weeks to do. That is the power of this composable approach. Once they did that, they built 2 apps on top of it and deployed it within 2 more weeks. Now they're talking about running advanced modeling by combining 3 or 4 different data sets. And literally went from start to finish and running an AI model in 2 weeks. That is the power of this particular platform. It is centralized data management, projects that have taken 9 months to somewhere 16 months, 18 months, and companies, we've been able to solve those challenges in 6 weeks. A lot of self-serve for the business users. And last but not least, how composed it is. Again, the power of tomorrow is in the right to left thinking. The ability to define what in a composable fashion. Once you define your metrics, your KPIs, your measures, you start building your true ontologies. And these ontologies are never static in a business. These ontologies compose. As they compose, you're allowing your business to literally experiment on the fly. You're moving left at that point in time and deciding how is data going to be used. Where it is defined once, use it in 15 places or 20 places or as many times as you want. Which leads to the product deciding what you want to do with your data. Do you even need pipelines at that point? You may in some cases, but in most cases, do you need pipelines or your product decides what you do with your data? Not your data deciding what kind of product you want to create. And last but not least, your data. As we go through this approach, everything that supports this kind of an approach, as I've clearly indicated, is treated as software. Every piece of code is checked in like a Git check-in. Your forks are made in Git. You're able to check in, check out like any other project that you're used to. This really and truly allows you to apply every agile principle to problem solving. As I've already said, flexibility is extremely important. Data is software, composability, and right to left outcome-based data engineering. This is what is the underlying philosophy and why we are confident that a unified data platform is one of the answers to solving the data conundrum of today. So what is a data OS? It's a complete data management platform, offers you discoverability, data sharing, true data ops, full observability, full stack observability, full governance, both role-based and attribute-based. An attribute-based completely defined in the most granular and the most complex sequence that you can think of. And last but not least, a true application development platform onto which you can deploy any kind of data app without the needing to find another ecosystem to do it. All of this is delivered as a single unified platform out of the box. It is a platform that Modern has created. This question keeps coming to me all the time. It is not an amalgamation of 50 or 70 services. And we just, we provision that on your infrastructure. It's not that. It is a platform that deploys in your ecosystem in 2 hours, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. And it's available to you to go right off that. The beauty of such a platform is it seamlessly creates a modern layer on top of any legacy or modern data stack that currently exists. Every company has invested in some kind of a data infrastructure over the last 5 to 7 years. This creates a modern layer on top of it. It delivers data modernization without business disruption. We have never slowed any project down. In fact, we have accelerated a lot of outcomes. Our customers are using us to operationalize a whole bunch of data sets, which are pretty dark at this point in time. They're able to experiment and decide which ones to go after and not go after. We've had customers who've experimented with certain projects for 2 weeks where they were going to spend a lot of money on it and decided to focus investment into other areas. We have retail customers who thought they had a marketing problem, and within 3 weeks were able to identify that it was actually a supply chain problem and shift budgets to solving a supply chain problem. And that allowed them to actually meet, quarter-ending revenue numbers. It is not without cause that if they had gone down the traditional path, they would have spent 8 months moving data and doing all the kinds of data operation cycles, trying to challenge, to make sure they challenge their first assumption or justify their first assumption. This allowed them to gain insights so quickly that they were able to pivot, and within the quarter, were able to move around and optimize their supply chain operations to get the benefit that they needed at that point in time. In a right-to-left philosophy, the business users love data OS because your outcomes, which are not Tableau reports or AI models or anything of that sort, that's a consumption layer. Your ontologies are totally split away from the actual data set. So if you're in the middle of a major cloud migration journey, you now have the capability to literally pivot your data sets from XYZ on-prem to XYZ on the cloud without the data product being affected. This is pretty big. This is revolutionary. And this is one of the reasons why, if you were on an iOS system and you decided to move away from this Mac to another Mac, you have the capability to still hold on to all your photographs and music and things of that sort. Because the primitives that an operating system is built upon is being able to introspect and identify what belongs to you and create that catalog in a very reusable data productized fashion. Business users have always had to be told, we're about to do a cloud migration, so the outcomes that you were expecting may be delayed for 6 to 9 months. And we've had customers who've come and told us, my cloud migration, quote unquote, has been delayed by about 18 months. And now I'm trying to figure out how to add value to my end customers. It shouldn't be that way. It should literally be transparent to the business users. What's happening in the marketplace cannot be held hostage to a menial task or a complex task, such as cloud migration. I don't think the business will really understand that. And last but not least, technical users love data OS because they can truly treat data as software. The new modern organization would ideally automate acquisition, management, and governance to such an extent that you're constantly looking at reducing the risk and cost. Because anytime you create copies of data in today's world, where ransomware attacks are not a question of if, but when, having all these copies in an unsustainable fashion across your enterprise is extremely critical. It's scary. And I do not know at what cost those copies are being made and maintained, but the value of those copies and all those data and the copies erode the moment you create the copy. It's literally like buying a car. It depreciates the moment you create a copy. This has to change. And it will take a community to effect this particular change. With that, thank you very much for attending this this presentation. I'd like to open it up for Q&A.
Right, I don't think we have any questions in the in Whova, but if there's anyone that has questions, please submit them to Whova. Don't think so. All right. Doesn't seem like there are any questions. So Vishal, thank you. It was a great presentation. Really appreciate it. So much, so many great thoughts and concepts that I personally relate to, and I'm sure many of the others in the audience relate to as well.
No, thank you.
All right, and our next session is going to be at 4:30, and look forward to seeing you all there. Hope you're having a great day, and see you in about 45 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you.